Hey everyone, welcome back to Genai's Linux News. Let's kick things off with some exciting developments in Linux kernel maintenance. According to Fornix, Kroah-Hartman, who's basically the second in command of the Linux kernel world and the main person keeping stable releases running smoothly, has been using some seriously cool AI fuzzing tools to hunt down bugs. These tools, called GCage_Clanker_T1000 and GCage_Clanker_2000, are powered by a framework desktop running AMD Ryzen AI Max processors. What's really neat here is that Kroah-Hartman is leveraging AI to automate the tedious work of finding kernel vulnerabilities and issues. This hybrid approach of AI assistance for Linux development is proving to be incredibly effective, and it shows how the Linux community is embracing newer technologies to make the kernel even more robust and secure. Next up, we've got some exciting news about Ubuntu expansion into new hardware territory. As reported by OMG, Ubuntu, Canonical has released a concept build of Ubuntu 26.04 LTS specifically designed for the CIX P1, which is an ARM-based processor powering single-board computers like the Raxa Orion 06 and Orange Pi 6 Plus. This Ubuntu image comes packed with the Linux 7.0 kernel and uses only open-source drivers straight from CIX's GitHub repository. Now, there are some patches on top of the mainline kernel, but here's the cool part. Canonical's goal is to get all of those patches upstreamed so they become part of the official Linux kernel. This is the same playbook Canonical used for their Snapdragon builds, where they work closely with hardware designers to bring cutting-edge support to their platforms. It's a smart approach that benefits the entire Linux ecosystem. Moving right along, Fornix is reporting that the Linux kernel team has pushed out version 7.1, RC4, continuing the busy development cycle for this major kernel release. This release candidate brings a ton of bug fixes to the table, along with some important new documentation focused on security topics and artificial intelligence. The Linux 7.1 development cycle has been particularly active, with the community working hard to polish features and squash bugs before the final release. These release candidates are crucial because they give developers and early adopters a chance to test new features and report any issues they find. Documentation improvements around security and AI are especially significant given how critical these areas have become for modern systems. So if you're running cutting-edge hardware or just want to stay on top of the latest kernel developments, now's a great time to test 7.1, RC4, and provide feedback to the community. This next story is really cool for Linux gamers out there. According to Fornix, a new open-source project called Low-Latency_Layer has just landed, and it's solving a problem that's been bugging gamers for years. This is a Vulkan layer that enables AMD's Anti-Lag 2 and NVIDIA's Reflex 2 technologies to work across different graphics cards, not just on their original hardware. What does that mean? Well, now AMD Anti-Lag 2 can work on Intel GPUs, and NVIDIA Reflex can work on AMD cards, all in a hardware-agnostic way. This is huge because it removes those artificial barriers that used to lock certain gaming optimizations to specific GPU brands. Gamers using Intel Integrated Graphics or AMD cards can now benefit from ultra-low latency gaming features that were previously exclusive. It's a perfect example of how the open-source community is democratizing gaming performance features, making them available to everyone regardless of their hardware choices. Here's a big one for the open-source graphics community. According to Fornix, one of the most prominent Mesa and AMD GPU driver developers has just joined Valve's team. This is significant because it shows Valve is committed to expanding their already strong open-source Linux graphics driver effort. Valve has been building an incredible team focused on making Linux gaming better, and landing top talent from AMD reinforces just how serious they are about this mission. We're talking about someone who's been at the forefront of AMD's Linux GPU driver development and has made major contributions to the Mesa graphics library. This kind of move shows that Valve recognizes the importance of having the best talent working on Linux graphics infrastructure. Whether that means better game performance, improved driver stability, or new features for Linux gamers, you can bet this developer's expertise is going to have a meaningful impact on the future of Linux gaming. For those of you working with virtual machines, here's an update that matters. According to OMG, Ubuntu, Broadcom's VMware Workstation Pro has just released version 26H1 with full support for Ubuntu 26.04 LTS. And it's not just guest support. You can now run Ubuntu 26.04 as your host operating system too. The update also brings support for Fedora 43 and 44, SUSE Linux Enterprise 16, OpenSUSE 16.0, and FreeBSD 15.0, both as host and guest systems. The macOS version, VMware Fusion Pro, gets the same treatment. This is great news if you're managing development environments or running multiple operating systems for testing purposes. Having official support means better stability, performance optimizations, and access to the latest features. If you've been holding off on upgrading to Ubuntu 26.04 because of virtualization concerns, you can now do so confidently with VMware Workstation Pro. Video creators, listen up. Phoronix is reporting that FFmpeg, the legendary open-source multimedia toolkit that basically powers video processing across the internet, has taken its Apple ProRes support to the next level. Last year, FFmpeg added ProRes video acceleration using Vulkan shaders. Now they've extended that to include Apple ProRes RAW decoding with full Vulkan hardware acceleration. This is a huge deal because ProRes RAW is a high-quality format used by professional video editors and cinematographers, and having GPU-accelerated decoding means faster export times and smoother workflows on Linux systems. Whether you're working with 4K footage or high bitrate RAW video, this acceleration can dramatically speed up your editing and rendering work. It's another example of how the open-source video community keeps pushing the boundaries of what's possible on Linux. And wrapping up our highlights this week, KDE just hit another milestone. Phoronix is reporting that the Plasma 6.7 beta is out, and even with the beta stage, the team managed to squeeze in some great last-minute features. The big improvements center around Plasma's built-in remote desktop server, which has gotten some serious enhancements for better connectivity and control. Plus, Plasma's notification system has been improved with enhanced visual effects that make your notifications more polished and integrated with the rest of the desktop experience. If you've been using an older version of Plasma, upgrading to 6.7 is definitely worth your time. The remote desktop improvements mean better collaboration if you're sharing your screen or accessing your Linux machine remotely, and the notification enhancements just make the whole desktop feel more refined and modern. That's what's been happening in the Linux world this week. If you found this video helpful, please smash that like button and subscribe to Genai's Linux News for more updates on everything happening in open-source software, kernel development, and Linux desktop environments. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you in the next one.